An all-new era is amongst us. Say hello to a new era. Wait, I said that before. Alright, I don't have any play on words today, but this is the Pocketbook Era Color. Based off of the black and white 7-inch Era body comes a color variant with Kaleido 3 color e-paper. Not to be confused with the InkPad 3 color, which is a 7.8-inch device with Kaleido 3. Let's go over the checklist. Can you install your own apps? No. Does this have Google Play? No. Does this have note-taking? No. What type of device is this? This is an e-book reader. An e-reader is defined as a unit that is primarily utilized to read books, PDFs, and light audio processes along with the potential for audiobooks. This unit retails for $259.99 US. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about the build. Now, it is identical to the Era because it is. Now, the backing I do like because it's got these lengthwise lines or widthwise lines, but it leaves a ton of fingerprints. We alcohol our fingertips before every single shoot, but this leaves a ton of fingerprints just based off of the type of plastic it uses. You also have this, which is a secret panel with pogo pins. This is also how you open your device to service it. We do not recommend that. It also has the model number under the back there. This is used for the power covers, although they've never actually sent us a sample of them, so we really don't know what the whole situation is like with that. You have these very nice kind of 5-10 degrees beveled edges right here. You have some buttons. You have back, forward, you have a power button, and you have a home button. The screen is a flush screen and bezel design, so it's going to be a little less high quality than, say, something like a Kobo that has a sunken screen and bezel, but overall it's not bad. This unit comes in at 229 grams, call it 230 grams. So it's not heavy, but it's not light. This is not lightweight in your hands. It does have some heft to it, but it is waterproof. It has a smart light. It's got audiobooks. And as you can see here, Kaleido 3. Let's get into the UI. So when you turn it on for the first time, honestly, this is the preset light. It is at full blast. Now, we don't recommend having it off because as you see, it's very, very dark and gray. We've been saying this since 2019 with the iReader C6. You have to have it on a little bit. In this case, actually quite a lot because the first 55% doesn't really do much. That's actually a little bit surprising. You see, you also have various services from Send to Pocketbook, Pocketbook Cloud, and Dropbox, so very much appreciate that. You also have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, dark mode, flight mode, and sync. Dark mode's going to flip everything into a dark mode, and it's also automatically going to adjust the front light and reverse it for some reason. I'm not sure why they did that. And the settings menu is pretty extensive, as you see that the settings menu on these units have always been very kind of, they have the secondary and tertiary and the fourth column kind of pre-settings, and you can just go deeper and deeper into it. They do give you quite a bit of flexibility when it comes to settings. You can personalize things, you can turn off and on the G sensor, you can do the dark mode. You have key mapping as well, which I want to touch on because I love key mapping. You have global EPUB and PDF, meaning that depending on what you are using, you can tell it to do different things. For example, if I want the home button to go to the main menu, that's a global command, but I can choose to do anything I want. I can change that home button to be a screenshot or the music player or what have you. You can go back to key mapping, and if you open an EPUB, you can have a separate set of key mapping, plus or minus 10 pages, etc. Now this does get a little bit confusing because it's a double-edged sword. They give you a lot of functionality and flexibility. However, you have to remember all this. For example, a PDF might be minus 10 pages, but it might be touchscreen lock on the back button. So there are a great deal of button combinations you must realize if you go down this rabbit hole. You also have logos, the different things you can show when you open up your unit, and you have widgets. Widgets I don't really understand because when you lead into it, it kind of looks like there should be more than there is. It's really just book recommendations with a simple on-off toggle. You do have complete refresh page. You can choose every 5 pages. You can choose never, so it's going to get a little bit stainy and you'll have to navigate away to something, maybe go into a secondary menu in order to push a refresh. But needless to say, they give you a lot of tools to get whatever you need done on this unit. Note is not notes, by the way. It's not Scribble. To get Scribble, you have to go to Apps and then Coloring and Scribble. Coloring and Scribble are going to be your kind of Paint and Notepad respectively. So for example, if I go here and I want the background to be blue and I want the couch pillow to be pink, you can go like that and you can do some coloring. You can do undo, redo, you have paint, brush, you have bucket, you have the pen, you have a lot of different options here. No, there's no stylus support. No, unfortunately, you can't use active capacitive or Wacom. It doesn't have that ability, but it does give you some light coloring features, as does Scribble. Pocketbook was technically the first color e-note ever, if you count the fact that you can draw on a notepad with your fingertip. They put Scribble on their Pocketbook Color first generation Kaleido. It's not terrible, but it's very low in terms of the overall features. There's no snipping tool. There's no add image, there's no add audio clip, you can't move things around and add a page and stuff like that. It is very bare bones, but it is nice that they give it to you so you have a bunch of colors, and it's just kind of there as a pleasantry. So if you did need to jot something down, it is there for you to use. When it comes to books, you don't need it to be in color necessarily. That just complicates things and it makes the screen look more gray, or subsequently uses more battery because you need the glow light on. But you can take advantage of certain things like the cover art and highlights and stuff like that, but the uses are few and far in between. If you long press on something like so, takes a quick second, you can do 4 different kind of highlights. Now this unit isn't very fast. Pocketbook devices, here's the disclaimer, have never been quick. They've never been quick and snappy. They've been internationally friendly, they've been reliable, and they have a good customer service network, but they're not fast units. They never have been. You can take a note, you can take a dictionary look up in Google, or add a note. This is actually Scribble. You can draw on the page. You can say do not show X out of that. That's just a disclaimer. Now you can start writing on the page. Again, there is no Wacom, there is no active capacitive. You must use your fingertip, but it is nice you get a little bit of a Scribble on there, and it does actually save if you choose to save it and don't just exit out the palette like we did. You have settings, note, dictionary, voice, rotate. We'll go to settings real quick just to show you guys. You do have a lot of different ways to change things. You have several different fonts. You have a little inertia here as well. That's pretty cool. And you have some different margins and line spacing and hyphenations. You can change your font point right here as well. And you can use the key mappable page turn buttons. As we said earlier, you can key map it to anything you want. So if you want plus or minus 10 pages, if you want to skip chapter, these are all things you can associate to these buttons. By default, they are just forward and back, or you can tap or you can swipe. The reading experience is just fine. There's nothing really sensational about it. It's just kind of a very bare bones, minimal customization approach to reading books. You can do voice dictation as well, and that will help you do a little bit of TTS on the screen.
Alongside each ship composing that fleet. For instance, if sentenced to 300 lashes in a fleet composed of 10 sail, he will receive 30 alongside of each ship. A launch is fitted up with a platform and shears. It is on
color content is going to be the exact same on essentially every color Kaleido 3 e-reader. Whether you get the Pocketbook, whether you get the Kobo, whether you get the iReader, it's all going to be the same because it's all coming from the same place, eink Taiwan. However, when creating the screen stack, you have various different layers. You have the glow light layer, you have a protectant layer, you have the color array filter, and that is an important one. Kobo actually puts the color array filter closer to the top of the stack rather than buried down below. We do not know if Pocketbook has employed this construction or not because we couldn't get a statement in regards to that, but we do know that it does matter where you put the color array filter, and that will result in a better overall look to the color content. However, you can trust our veteran eyes, we don't see any real shortcomings. The only shortcoming I can personally see is that this screen looks quite far away from the top of the unit. There is a substantial space and a drop shadow right there along the side, which means that the top glass coat and the beginning of the screen stack, there's a little space. And this is something you actually don't get on a sunken screen. This looks like you're almost interacting with it when you touch it. It's almost as if you're touching the screen. You aren't, because there's always protectant layers on top of the EPD, the electronic paper display, but the same thing doesn't hold true here. It's almost like you're a little bit far away from it. And it's not saying I don't appreciate that, that just comes with the territory of having a flush screen and bezel, but it needs to be said, because if we didn't nitpick and pull out shortcomings, there wouldn't be a video for us to film. All things considered though, it looks perfectly in line with all of the other standardized Kaleido 3 devices on the market. It's vibrant, it's vivid, it has good contrast, none of which you can change on this unit, we might add, because on some units you actually do have the ability to change things like the vividness, the color weight, the contrast, the sharpness, but you don't actually get that on this unit. You only get the glow light, on or off, and then dark mode. That's basically the most you get. The final thing we'll touch on, which we touched on a little bit at the beginning, is apps. These are not apps in the traditional sense. This unit was not co-created by bigme. This one does not have Android on board, so you can't long press on things and go to force stop, and you can't add APKs or anything like that, but you do have some things. You have an international book library right there, you have a gallery, you can turn this into a photo frame, you have music player, you have Dropbox, you have chess, Klondike, Sudoku. Again, none of these you can change. You can do as much as add them to the home screen, that's about it, but you can't delete them, you can't add anything additional, but it is nice that you have these little things that keep you busy if need be. You're not buying it for that, but it is nice that you have it. That about wraps up pretty much everything to do with the Era. This is a continuation of the regular Era, except is using a color screen, and this is also Kaleido 3, and I would say they're a tiny bit late to the party implementing Kaleido 3, as it has been around for quite some time, but pretty solid overall package. Kaleido 3 Color eink screen onboard audio and dripping in Pocketbook character comes a continuation of their already established and successful Era device. But there is two sides to every coin, and this is not the fastest device on the market. It's a little bit limiting into what you can do, and it's not really doing anything groundbreaking in the industry, as Kaleido 3 has been around for quite some time. Pocketbook is an absolute juggernaut internationally, and this is exactly the type of device we want to see them make. It's compact, capable, waterproof, and looks better than any other ebook reader on the market. All things considered, you can never really go wrong with buying a Pocketbook device. They're just so ridiculously established in the industry that it is easily one of the safest choices of any manufacturer.